This book traverses a contested terrain. Historians and politicians have long contested the history of the Lenape peoples originally from New Jersey. This contestation is an important part of this environmental justice story because it has direct implications for this community's experience with contamination and remediation, as you will hear about. In this book, we recognize that there are no definitive answers and that this is rooted in how our nation was constructed and the deliberate erasure that was involved. We recognize that histories and policies were crafted for the colonial purpose of dispersing indigenous power. We recognize that many books that sit on our shelves today are used to eradicate the complexities of our collective American story. We recognize that those histories give some people the home court advantage. This book moves us off of that court and into a complex territory that weaves together different strands and different stories. It engages with updated evidence and more recent work from scholars of Native American and Indigenous studies that points out that not all Indigenous people left New Jersey. This book honors the lives of those who stayed on the land of their ancestors, those who kept memory alive, those who kept the names of the places alive against all odds, as they have had to deal for centuries with degrading representations of who they are. It has not been easy. I believe the Ramapo's claims of Native American heritage. I recognize that this claim is contested by some historians and some New Jersey residents. I am aware that David Cohen's book, The Ramapo Mountain People, published in 1974, is seen by some historians as the definitive last word on their ancestry. He claims that they're the descendants of Dutch men and African women. But I'm aware that a lot more evidence exists that is not included in that book. I know that Herbert C. Kraft, a respected authority on the Lenape and professor emeritus of anthropology and the director of the Museum of Archaeology at Seton Hall, published another book 12 years after Cohen's titled The Lenape, Archaeology, History, and Ethnography. I know that he has a very different understanding of history and that he wrote letters supporting the Ramapo's bids for official recognition. But for some reason, his carefully researched book has not managed to nudge some historians' opinions. I believe that New Jersey would not have officially recognized the Ramapo Lenape as a state tribe unless the state had performed the proper genealogical research. This would not have happened without strong supporting evidence. I believe that every single Lenape individual did not leave New Jersey. I believe that some stayed behind, that some couldn't bear to leave their homes, and I ask you to reflect on when and why you didn't choose to leave your home, and the cost that you may have been willing to pay to stay in the place that you loved most in the world, the place where your obligations were grounded. I believe the numerous genealogists who have gone on record to support the Ramapo's claims. I believe former Secretary of the Interior Bruce Babbitt and his letter to the U.S. Senate in 1995 stating that the Ramapo's claims are valid and that their case for federal recognition had been compromised when records were leaked to the Atlantic City Gaming Commission before they went to the BIA. I believe State Assemblyman William Carey Edwards' state document from 1995 supporting the Ramapo's claims and outlining the legislature's step-by-step dismissal of Cohen's book. I know that after the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act was passed in 1998, anti-gambling opponents all over the country accused tribal groups of using the recognition process to move towards the ultimate goal of establishing casinos. And I know that in that same year, New Jersey State Representative Robert Torricelli, who had originally supported the Ramapo's bid for federal recognition, suddenly changed his mind because of his concerns about gaming. And in that same year, Donald Trump sued the federal government, alleging that IGRA had created unfair competition for his casinos in Atlantic City, just a 2-hour drive away from the Ramapo's homelands. He was being discriminated against. And when that suit failed, Trump went on to publicly question the Ramapo's racial identity, stating,
"They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians, and a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. Well, you go up to Connecticut, and you look. Now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir."
putting those words out on the airways to seed doubt wherever it was convenient. I instead believe the historians and archaeologists and environmental scientists who support the Ramapo as a Native American tribe. I believe those who are working directly with the people, those who are in relationship with the people, and those who see them as people, not remnants of documents in colonial archives. I believe them over those who claim expertise from afar. We believe the Ramapo's oral and written histories. We know that histories are contested and that there are multiple ways of patching together archival documents. Many decades ago, Cohen did some serious scholarly work and brought pieces of evidence into play. Many of his primary sources are from the colonial archives and from sources like the Eugenics Records Office. There is other evidence out there that did not make its way into his book, which was written almost 50 years ago. And so much has changed in terms of working with rather than on Native American communities. We also know that so little has changed, and therefore many will continue to believe his account. That's okay. We just want room for contestation. We just want room to display the evidence that all the people who worked on this book have accumulated, historical documents and the voices of the people. In this book, we make room for those voices to be heard on their own terms. We make room for other evidence to be seen, and we recognize the Native peoples that our state has also officially recognized. We have created representations and visualizations of the Ramapo's history and present environmental justice struggles to create a resource for teaching. And this is just a small part of a much larger project led by the Ramapo for cultural restoration, knowledge recovery, and food sovereignty. We understand that there is controversy, and we only ask that you look and draw your own understandings from the more complete picture presented here. We ask that you engage with the broader picture sketched out about how Indian land was acquired and distributed, about how connections to Native traditions were deliberately eroded, and also about how many Native Americans today live with environmental contamination. We ask that you listen to the oral and written histories of these full and present human beings about their connections to their lands and their histories.